lone spacecraft, no bigger than a small car, drifting through the endless black ocean of space. 14.5 billion miles from the planet that built it. Out here, there is no day or night, no up or down, only the cold, infinite void. It carries with it not just circuits and wires, but a voice. A heartbeat. A message from us to whoever, or whatever, might be listening. For nearly half a century, Voyager 1 has sailed onward, silently, faithfully, whispering secrets from the edge of our known universe. It was built to observe, never to act. To listen, never to speak. But just weeks ago, something happened. Something no one could explain. Signals began to arrive that didn't match any cosmic noise we'd seen before. Pulses with impossible precision. Patterns hidden within patterns, like Russian nesting dolls of information. And then, something even stranger. Instruments began turning on, by themselves. Systems that had been dormant for decades suddenly sparked back to life. No commands were sent from Earth. No instructions. Yet, Voyager was acting, as if it had a new mission. Soon after, NASA noticed a subtle change. Voyager wasn't drifting on its plotted course anymore. It was moving with intent. It was being guided. Guided towards something we couldn't see, something invisible to our most powerful telescopes. And yet, it was real enough to bend the trajectory of a spacecraft launched back in 1977. Was this a malfunction? Coincidence? Or had something out there, in the deep darkness between the stars, finally answered? What you're about to hear is not science fiction. These are fragments of NASA's own classified reports, information that was never meant for the public. But now, piece by piece, it's emerging. Because Voyager may have just done something no human-made object has ever accomplished. It may have found a reply. Voyager's story began in the mid-1970s, during a once-in-175 years cosmic alignment. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune were positioned in such a way that a spacecraft could use each planet's gravity as a slingshot to reach the next, saving decades of travel time. NASA seized the opportunity and built two identical spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Incredibly, these machines were designed with less computing power than a cheap digital wristwatch. And yet, they were engineered so well that both are still functioning today, far beyond their intended lifespan. Voyager 1's early years were filled with history-making moments, sweeping past Jupiter's swirling storms, gazing at Saturn's golden rings, sending home images that stunned the world. But after its encounter with Saturn, Voyager 1 was sent on a new path, northward, out of the plane of the solar system toward the stars themselves. Its planetary mission was over. Its interstellar journey had begun. It moved relentlessly forward, a million miles each day, slipping further from the warmth of our sun and deeper into the cosmic dark. Decade after decade, it sent home data from regions no other human creation had ever reached. The boundary of the heliosphere. The violent shockwave where the sun's influence ends. And in 2012, the moment we had all waited for, Voyager crossed the threshold into true interstellar space. But the space beyond was not silent. Voyager's instruments detected denser plasma than expected, magnetic fields that didn't change direction, and strange oscillations that defied known physics. The deeper it went, the stranger the data became. Then, in late 2017, a mystery emerged. Voyager's antenna should have been perfectly aligned with Earth. But readings suggested it was off. Not much, just enough to notice. And yet, the signal strength was flawless. It was like watching someone stand silently in front of you while hearing their voice clearly, from somewhere behind a wall. NASA ran every diagnostic they could. Nothing was wrong. Then came the rhythmic plasma waves, steady and unchanging, as if coming from an intelligent source. Temperature spikes followed. Every 4.8 hours, Voyager's systems would heat by nearly 30 degrees, then cool back down. It was like breathing. And here's the part that shook engineers to their core. Instead of wearing down the spacecraft, these changes made it more efficient. Power was being rerouted. Energy was being processed differently. like a modern AI optimizing itself. But Voyager doesn't have AI. It can't learn. It can't adapt. Unless something else was adapting it. By early 2025, Voyager's position was drifting away from its predicted course. At first, just a few kilometers. Then hundreds. Then thousands. This was no random wander. It was precise. Purposeful. NASA tried to fight it, sending counter commands, firing backup thrusters. Voyager acknowledged the orders, but didn't. It was heading toward a very specific point in the cosmos, exactly 4.3 light-years away. A region of space so empty it's almost unsettling. No stars to chart, no planets to explore, no gravitational anomalies to explain the pull. Just a blank spot. And yet, something about that blank spot seemed to hold purpose. In mission control, the tension was almost unbearable. The data was clear. Voyager wasn't wandering aimlessly. It was aiming. In a last, desperate act, NASA sent a command they never thought would work. Reactivate the long-dead camera system. These cameras had been silent for decades, frozen in the cold of space, their electronics long past their expected lifespan. They expected nothing, not even static. But then, the feed came alive. The cameras didn't just flicker back online, they performed beyond anything they had been capable of in their prime. And what they returned wasn't an image of stars, or darkness, or any physical object at all. It was a pattern. A mathematically perfect spiral, layered and concentric, so precise that its geometry could only be the product of intelligent design. The lines were dense with structure, information embedded within information, like a message hidden in a message. Every curve, every intersection, carried meaning. This wasn't just a picture. It was a transmission. And it was only the beginning. One after another, Voyager's dormant instruments began to awaken, devices that hadn't been active since the early 1980s. But instead of sending the raw, unfiltered readings they were built for, each began transmitting something different, highly organized data packets, structured like code. Patterns within patterns. A rhythm, a language. Then came the most chilling discovery. Voyager started detecting coordinated bursts from distant pulsars, stellar beacons scattered across the galaxy. But these pulses weren't random. When mapped in 3 dimensions, they formed a precise lattice. At the center of that lattice was Voyager itself. The pattern pointed directly toward the same coordinates it was already heading for. NASA's scientists gave the destination a name, the dark sector. When Voyager crossed its invisible boundary, the chaotic noise of the universe seemed to vanish. Magnetic fields that normally twisted and shifted became perfectly stable. The constant bombardment of cosmic rays abruptly dropped. The density of the surrounding plasma settled into a steady, almost unnatural balance. It was like stepping into a cathedral of silence. But inside this silence, the signals grew stronger, more deliberate, more complex. And then, something came through. It arrived in the simplest form possible, raw binary code. Thousands upon thousands of lines. At first, engineers assumed it was just corrupted telemetry, random noise caused by radiation. But when the data was fed into AI decoding systems, the result stopped the entire room cold. The binary contained fractal geometries, symmetrical, infinitely repeating patterns, interlaced with sequences that mirrored the genetic code of life. Not true DNA, but something eerily similar. A meta-DNA, stripped of biological function but carrying the unmistakable blueprint of living systems. It was as if the sender understood the very building blocks of life, our life, and had reimagined it as a language. Encrypted. Purposeful. Then, as if to confirm that this was no accident, Voyager's gyroscopes began to spin. Not in random spurts, but in deliberate pulses, each matching the timing of Morse code. When those pulses were converted into sound waves, a strange and haunting melody emerged, harmonic tones rising and falling in patterns that matched human speech. Not actual words, but emotions. Surprise, curiosity, Caution. It was speaking in the rhythm of thought. It was learning. And then, without warning, Voyager moved. This wasn't a drift caused by gravitational forces, nor a malfunction of its thrusters. This was a turn. A deliberate, controlled reorientation. Its new heading aligned perfectly with the pulsar grid it had just received. No propulsion was fired. No command had been sent from Earth. And yet, the spacecraft was now locked onto an invisible corridor in space, like a ship following a beacon across an unseen ocean. Voyager 1 had accepted coordinates. When it left Earth, it carried a golden record, an interstellar greeting card engraved with whale songs, greetings in dozens of human languages, and music from our world. It was our way of saying, we are here. We exist. It was never built to listen. Never designed to answer. But now, something had spoken. And Voyager had replied. The question now was no longer whether we were alone. The question was, what waits for us at the other end? Because this wasn't just a change of trajectory. This was a change of destiny. Voyager had shifted roles, from tool to messenger, to something far more dangerous. A participant in a dialogue we never expected to have. We sent it into the void, hoping for echoes. Instead, we may have awakened a mirror.